Hello and welcome to Business Live. Coming up in this bulletin, utility tariffs set to witness some significant increase as part of the IMF program conditions seeking to ensure full cost recovery and reduce government spending on the sector. We are live with a financial economist, plus get to hear from the business community on what they make of this. Also in this bulletin, the Association of Ghana Industries warns of job losses, production cuts and local supply challenges due to recent U.S. import tariff hike.
And bear in mind then, there are complications in Ghana. You have job constraints, because if the demand has dropped, revenue has dropped, it could affect even the country's forex.
Housing company outlines bold strategies for affordability and sustainability in Ghana's real estate sector.
Affordability starts, like I mentioned, from the planning phase. If we plan projects with the end user in mind, that helps the whole process. So one of the things we're changing at State Housing is that we're changing the way we approach projects.
We have details of this and more lined up for you. Please stay on. I truly appreciate your time. I am Pius Kojobaka. Let's begin this way. Utility tariffs are set to experience significant increases according to sources familiar with adjustments made by the sector's regulator, the PURC. And we have more details in this report for you.
Public Utility Regulatory Commission is likely to make the announcement later today after their final round of meetings. The hike could be the highest in recent times for water and electricity. It is not sure for now whether the move is in line with the IMF program that is pushing for full cost recovery when it comes to tariffs for water and electricity. There might be another huge increment in the third quarter of this year. However, that will be dependent on the performance of the economy, especially when it comes to inflation and the Ghana cedi.
All right, let's explore this further and get on to Zoom and speak with financial economist Professor Lord Mensah. And we also will be hearing from the business community pretty soon. But let's make sense out of this, Professor Mensah. Although the PURC is yet to announce the tariff, some have said it is part of the IMF program conditions seeking to ensure full cost recovery and, of course, reduce government spending on the sector. What do you make of that?
Yes, I mean, that is in order because the problem we've been having with our utility increment is that because most of the utility service, agencies are government-oriented, anytime there seems to be an increase, we seem to relate it to politics. But under normal circumstance, you cannot operate a system or a business without necessarily looking at, increase in tariffs or increase in, prices, especially when the input cost, tends to be going up. And at the same time, you're looking at some skill set that is required that needs to be, invested in. So if you're looking at investment and other things, obviously it is expected of, a utility tariff to go up. But we may have to look at the situation we have in Ghana. To a point where you're not even having the light, to a point where you're not having, the water flowing through the pipes, and there's a call for increment. Then you ask yourself, what is the essence of increment? Because, you see this increment, but then the services are not, up to expectation. So if you're running a business, obviously it is expected that, there will be an increment in, prices.
And I'll get to find out from them pretty soon. But the question on the minds of many is whether businesses themselves are ready for any increment following the reliefs we saw in the budget. We thought that should be some sort of good news for us until we are hearing news of this.
Yeah, so the budget in itself positions itself to be more or less putting money in the people's pocket. And if you look at, the Bank of Ghana's Monetary Policy Committee, they gave headwind kind of exposure in terms of liquidity. And so they increased the, policy rate. So it is expected that once, money comes into the people's pocket, it is obvious that, one way or the other, through, policy implementation and through utility increase, government may want to, tap into some of these monies that have come into the people's pocket. But we also have to appreciate that if the utility, tariffs are not being borne by the people, obviously government may have to fill that in. And with the current IMF program that we find ourselves in, I don't think it is allowed for government to spend on behalf of the people when it comes to utility usage.
And help me appreciate this. Of what impact will an increase have on the economy largely? There's been argument that this is going to have an impact on inflation, for example.
Yeah, obviously, once price of utilities goes up, businesses are not going to absorb that on their balance sheet without passing it on to, the consumer. So obviously, we should expect price to go up. But it all depends on the margin. 27% is quite, huge, and we should expect some, price increment as far as the market is concerned.
And consumers are likely to bear the brunt of that.
Of course, obviously.
Very well. Professor Lord Mensah, I truly appreciate your time this very moment. He is a financial economist helping us understand the impact of this on the economy largely. Let's get a sense from the business community as well as they join us via Zoom. Mark Bedwabwaji is the Chief Executive of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Mark, thanks so much for your time. And I want to know the impact this will have on your operations.
Firstly, this is not good news. In the normal cost build-up of whether it's in the service sector, even the agri or the manufacturing sector, electricity and water they always have a huge component, the cost build-up in this country. So any increments from water, electricity, obviously will affect the producers. Cost of production will go up. Already it's very high, and we've been crying about it. Recently, we thought we were going to have some relief from the monetary side. We've also seen an increase in the MPC. That's also going to increase interest rate. So this is going to actually worsen an already bad situation. And I think that they should be extremely careful with the kind of increment they are bringing. I'm not sure of, I've heard figures of 27% and the rest. Even 1% increase in electricity translates into a huge cost for businesses. If you take, for instance, a manufacturing company, electricity constitutes about 30% of their cost build-up. So if you are going to increase it by 27%, you can imagine the effects. Already we are not competitive, both locally and internationally. So anything that will increase the cost of production and increase prices will not be a good news for businesses.
And Mark, were you consulted prior to this announcement, which of course is yet to be made public?
To the best of my knowledge, we have not been consulted. We don't know anything about it. We are just hearing about it, from your network. So as I sit here, I don't know what kind of increment is coming up. I don't know whether other business associations have been consulted. But today we had a meeting with some of the business associations, and nothing like that came up. So it means that most of us are not aware. They are just taking us by surprise. If you are taking somebody by surprise with a very huge increment, then it means you also have to go and look at our cost structure. How do we even adjust this increment to ensure that we are profitable in the next few months that we have ahead of us?
And talking about some adjustments you have to make, I want to know your next move. If it happens that, the increase of the tariff goes higher than what you were expecting, what's going to be your move?
Obviously, once it's going to increase the cost of production, businesses cannot bear this high increments. So a chunk of it will be given to the consumers also to bear. So we should obviously prepare ourselves for an increase in prices. I mean, if it cut across, then prices for every commodity is going to increase. That is not the fault of the business, not the fault of the producers. If you are increasing my cost of production, if I don't do something about it, it means my business also collapse. So we are going to pass on a huge chunk of this increment also to consumers. And for me, it is not the best way to fight inflation. I mean, if you want to achieve inflation of 11.9% as being stated in the budget, and you are increasing policy rates, you are increasing utility tariffs, then the prices of goods and services will go up, and obviously your target for inflation will not be achieved. I, from day one, have had a bit of issue with this target, and with what is it's as if probably they have in mind of increasing this utility tariffs. But I think that it will be extremely difficult for us to achieve the target that you have set for inflation, given that prices of goods and services are going to go up based on this increase in tariff. And it's not only electricity, it's water as well. Most of the businesses, they use both electricity and water. So you are receiving two slaps at the same time. And of course, you have to be strong. You have to find a way to survive. So obviously, we're going to pass on this increment to consumers.
Maybe you want to help me with this. Would you plan to petition government, PURC, for example, to relook at its decision if indeed they want to go ahead to increase tariffs? Would you do that?
Well, we have to, because I think they should have consulted us so that at least we can also make input into whatever rate they are giving up. We are aware that the power producers and the rest are struggling. They are also businesses, and they need to be able to cover their costs and make profit. We are aware of that. So we think that this should also be considered when they are also struggling to be able to increase some of this tariff to ensure that they survive. But when you consult the businesses, they also will tell you some of the challenges that we are facing, and probably also propose certain rate that we think that if we should increase it by that rate, at least it will be beneficial. We can adjust and not to necessarily pass on or transfer some of this increment into consumers. So once we are not consulted, once it comes up, we look at it, we look at the reasons behind it, we look at whether we'll be able to bear this cost, and then obviously make a petition to PURC and meet them and see whatever we can do together to ensure that we don't unnecessarily put burdens on businesses, while also ensuring the other power producers and utility producers are also getting value for money as well.
Mark Bedwa-Boaji, thank you so much for your time this very moment. I truly appreciate it. He's the Chief Executive of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industries. Talking about industries, the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, is warning of potential job losses, production cuts and disruptions to local supply chains as a result of mounting challenges facing manufacturing firms in Ghana. These firms export goods to major European companies for repackaging before reaching the US. Now, AGI President Humphrey Enyimdake issued the caution on PM Express Business Edition.
It goes all the way to the farmer, just not only to the local company that is doing the cocoa processing. I don't want to mention company names. We have a number of our colleagues doing processing and exporting the liquor, and others, and through the cocoa board, exporting the beans. Granted, that is the case that Company X in Ghana or Company P in Ghana is exporting to Switzerland, and then Swiss now has about 30+% tariff increase. Automatically, there will be a market contraction in the US where the final product lands. The concern is that what is going to be the consumer behavior? Are they still going to purchase the product anyway? Bear in mind, by virtue of that 34% or 36% increase, it will drive an inflationary issue in the US. Will the disposable income from the consumer in the US still be stable to go for chocolate? Granted that all things be equal, that the consumer behavior still stands, then the production and the value chain from the primary stage in Ghana, from the farmer to the processor, through the company in Swiss, back will not change. That's all it things be equal. But we know the consumer behavior over the period changes as a result of inflation and as a result of your disposable income. that becomes a concern and trickles back. So once the demand contracts, there's contraction in the demand, automatically it comes back to the production base, which is Ghana. And bear in mind then, there are complications in Ghana. You have job constraints, because if the demand has dropped, revenue has dropped, it could affect even the country's forex. And it has forex implication. It could lead to forex uncertainties. So there are events
so job are at risk here.
Oh, job at risk,
production being cut is at risk.
That's on the micro level, which are company. But on the macro level also, export remittances that comes to the country is also at risk.
And also it trickles down even to the farmer as well.
It trickles all the way to the farmer, infrastructure, social interventions. You've got to look at it broadly across the value chain.
You're still watching Business Live. We have more for you after this break. Hello, welcome back to Business Live. And let me tell you one of our headline stories we've tabled for you. At the 2025 Ghana Green Summit, the State Housing Company Limited has unveiled a forward-looking strategy aimed at driving affordable and sustainable housing in Ghana. Managing Director of the company, John Bauer, emphasized a shift from traditional construction models to more community-driven planning and eco-friendly building practices. Rosela Calistego has more in this report.
Speaking at the Ghana Green Summit, Managing Director of the State Housing Company, John S. Bauer, outlined bold reforms aimed at improving housing access for Ghanaians. According to him, the State Housing Company is now designing homes based on the needs and affordability of local communities rather than following a one-size-fits-all model. He explained that, beyond planning, the State Housing Company is also exploring alternative materials like compressed earth blocks and partnering with private tech firms to convert local resources into building components.
Affordability starts, like I mentioned, from the planning phase. If we plan projects with the end user in mind, that helps the whole process. So one of the things we are changing at State Housing is that we're changing the way we approach projects. In the past, you would have a situation where we go buy land or we get allocated land. We decide in our offices, oh, we're going to do 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and then we go and start building, and then we start selling. We are changing the process around such that we're looking at the communities in which we believe there's a need or there's a gap that needs to be filled between the low end and the very high end, which is the problem we have today. And so we're looking at exploring those communities, finding out what kind of homes people are looking for in those communities. What can people afford, most importantly? And that is what is going to drive the communities that we plan to the various areas.
He also added that these efforts will not only lower costs, but also help Ghana build more climate-resilient homes as part of a broader national sustainability push. To make home buying easier, the State Housing Company is also establishing a mortgage desk and working with financial institutions to support both buyers and project funding.
Two specific things that we're doing very quickly. One is we're establishing a mortgage desk. So there's a mortgage specialist joining our team who's going to help our buyers access mortgages at competitive rates to be able to buy our properties. Secondly, we had our first meeting with Commercial Bank on helping finance purchases for home buyers as well as finance the construction of our projects. So we are looking forward to all of these interventions, giving us the results we're looking for to make Ghanaians be able to access affordable housing easier.
Unveiled at the Ghana Green Summit, the State Housing Company's new approach marks a shift towards affordable and sustainable housing tailored to local communities. Rosla Calistego's report read to you.
Head of SME Sales at MTN Ghana, Mohammed Abubakar Sadiq, has stressed the need to support micro, small and medium businesses to strengthen the local economy. He made this call at the launch of the MTN SME Accelerator Program, which is expected to offer tailored training and digital solution packages to support small businesses across the country. More from the launch.
According to research, Ghana's small and medium-sized businesses constitute approximately 70% of the country's GDP and form about 90% of all businesses. With promising potential for growth, the sector requires tailored support to realize its development. As part of activities to support micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, MTN Ghana has launched its flagship Accelerate program, which aims to offer support to SMEs. Mohammed Abubakar Siddiq, Senior Manager for SME Sales at MTN, shares some details on the program.
SME Accelerate 2025 is an activity to ensure that we are able to transform our businesses. The SMEs, today we have realized that most of the SMEs, in terms of digital transformation, they are lagging behind. So based on our experience or our research last year, we identified some of these gaps in them. And then to transformational gap in terms of digitization, and also financial support as well, and also capacity building is also another thing that we identified last year. So this year we have decided to incorporate everything. Last year we did just 1 month. It's lasted for a month, but this year we say based on the feedback that we got from them, we are going to expand it up to the end of the year.
The program is expected to last for a year with carefully designed projects implemented across the country.
We also have solutions like a Jumapa that we have launched. We also have solutions like SME Plus. We have solutions like Yellow Bees, which has been tailored to SMEs. We also have fairs as part of the year-long program that we are also doing. So these are, but few of the programs as part of the launch. We are going to have these activities embedded in the SME Accelerate launch that we have done today.
The Chief Executive of the Ghana Enterprise Agency, Margaret Ansei, reiterated the need for support programs to enable SMEs to scale up and participate in the 24-hour economy policy.
MTN SME Accelerate program, a timely and strategic intervention that aligns perfectly with the bold and forward-looking vision we share at the Ghana Enterprises Agency to build a resilient, digitally empowered, and globally competitive micro, small, and medium enterprises sector in Ghana.
And that's our package by way of Business Life. I am Pius Kojo Baka. We have more for you when you log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Beyond the Numbers is next.